डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी.
Hello everyone, I am Dr. Himanshu Patel and I am working as an assistant professor in School of Computer Science of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University, Ahmedabad, and I am your instructor for today's session. In today's module, we will learn Android manifest file, which is important component of Android app. We will discuss activity. What is the life cycle of an activity? We will also discuss another important component, which is fragment and life cycle of fragment, and finally, we will discuss the difference between activity and fragment. Learning objective for today's session. After learning these modules, learner should be able to make use of Android manifest.xml file, understand various components of manifest file. He or she can define activity. He or she can understand the life cycle of an activity. They can define fragment and they can understand the life cycle of a fragment. And finally, they can list or state the difference between activity and fragment. So, what is Android manifest file? We have already gone through project structure and layout in previous session. So, you might have understand what is manifest folder in project structure is, but inside that there is one important file called Android manifest.xml file that we are going to discuss today. So, Android manifest file is a global application description file which defines your application's capability and permission and how it runs. Each and every Android app project must have an Android manifest.xml file in the root of your project, and the manifest file describes important information about your app. Android Studio generally builds the manifest file for you when you create a project that we have seen. For a simple application with single activity and nothing else, the auto generated manifest file will work fine and there is no need to modify these file. But if your app contains multiple activities and other app components, then you need to modify these Android manifest.xml file. That is why it is very important for us to understand the structure or component of Android manifest file. What does it contains? So, Android manifest file contains or declares the app package name, the components of the app such as activities, services, broadcast receivers and content providers, which device configuration it can handle, and intent filters that describe how the component can be started, permissions required by the app and the hardware and software features the app requires. So, manifest file contains very important description regarding your app. Now, let us look at the components of manifest file one by one. The first component of manifest file is package name and application ID. The manifest file's root element requires an attribute for your app's package name. So, first is package name and application ID. Second is app components. For each app components that you create in your app, you must declare a corresponding XML element in the manifest file, and components includes activities, services, broadcast receivers and intents. The next component is permissions. This is very important. Android apps must request permission to access sensitive user data such as contacts and SMS or certain system features such as the camera and internet access. Each permission is identified by unique label. So, you must define all the permission required by your app. The next is intent filters. App activities, services and broadcast receiver are activated by intent. An intent is a message defined by an intent object that describes an action to perform, including the data to be acted upon, the category of component that should perform the action and other instruction. So, basically intent is a message passing structure between two activities or app components. For example, if you log in by typing your username and password, the next activity is a welcome screen which displays username. So, this login activity must pass username to welcome screen. So, this is achieved with the help of intent. So, intent filters are defined inside manifest file. The next component is device compatibility. The manifest file is also where you can declare what type of hardware or software features your app requires and thus which type of device your app is compatible with. Device compatibility is also described in manifest file and it also describes icon and labels used by your application. A number of manifest elements have icon and label attribute for displaying small icon and text label respectively to user for the corresponding app component. So, this is also defined inside manifest file. Now, let us look at the actual manifest file. So, on screen you can see one manifest file which is created by Android Studio for you. So, the top element is manifest and these XML ns:android is called attribute. So, element have attributes. In this example you can see manifest element, application element, uses SDK element, activity element, intent filter element and it has a two activity. One is main activity and another is display message activity that you can see in the example. So, this XML is simple example of Android manifest.xml file that declares two activity for the app as we can show on the screen. So, generally this file is created for you by Android Studio. You need not to create this file, but if your app contains multiple activities and certain permissions and some device compatibility information, then you must modify this Android manifest.xml file. Now, there are so many other elements that is defined by manifest file. So, here we are discussing manifest element reference. So, each and every element that you can define inside manifest we see one by one. So, first element is action. Action element adds an action to intent filter. The next element is activity which declares an activity component. If you have 3 activity, there must be 3 activity elements. Then there is a activity alias which declares an alias for an activity or other name for an activity. There is a application element that declares application. There is a category which adds category name to an intent filter. Then there is a compatible screens. It specifies each screen configuration with which the application is compatible. Next is data which adds data specification to an intent filter. Next is grant URI permission, which specifies the subset of app data that the parent content provider has permission to access. Last in this screen is instrumentation, which declares an instrumentation class that enables you to monitor an application's interaction with the system. There are so many elements of manifest. Next elements are shown on the screen. The first is intent filter. Intent filter specifies the type of intent that an activity, service or broadcast receiver can respond to. Manifest element, as we shown in example, is the root element of the Android manifest.xml file. Then there is the metadata element, a name value pair for an item of additional arbitrary data that can be supplied to parent component. So, metadata is generally called data about data. Path permission, it defines the path and required permission for a specific subset of data within a content provider. Then there is a permission. Permission declares security permission that can be used to limit access to specific component or features of these or other applications. So, without permissions you cannot use resources that is required by your application. Then there is a permission group, which declares a name for logical grouping of related permissions. It is a basically group of permissions. Then there is a permission tree, which declares the base name for a tree of permissions. The next element is provider. So, it declares content provider component. Then there is a queries, which declares the set of other app that your app intends to access. There is a receiver element, which declares a broadcast receiver component, and there is a service element, which declares service component. If you are using services in your app, then you must declare service element, and there is a support GL texture element, which declares single GL texture compression format that the app supports, and there is a support screens element, which declares the screen size your app supports and enables screen compatibility mode for screens larger than what your app support. Next element is uses configuration. It indicates specific input feature the application requires. The next element is uses features. It declares single hardware or software feature that is used by the application. The next element is uses library. It specifies shared library that the application must be linked against. If it has some dependency on library, then you must use this element. Then there is the uses native library element, which specifies vendor provided native shared library that the app must be linked against. This requires only if your app has some dependency on other library. Then there is a uses permission. It specifies system permission that the user must grant in order for app to operate correctly. Then there is a uses permission SDK 23. It specifies that an app wants a particular permission, but only if the app is installed on a device running Android 6.0, that is API level 23 or higher. And last element is uses SDK. It lets you express an application compatibility with one or more versions of Android platform by means of an API level integer. So, friends, these are the elements that can use inside manifest file. So, all these are called manifest elements reference. Now, let us understand activity and its uses. So, this is very important app component. So, let us start with what is activity. We can say an activity provides the window in which the app draws its user interface. The window typically fills the screen, but may be smaller than screen and float on top of other window. Generally, one activity implements one screen in an app. For instance, one activities may implement a preferences screen, while another activity implements select photo screen. Individual screen is represented by activity in app. Most app contains multiple screens, which means they comprise multiple activities. Typically, one activity in an app is specified as the main activity, which is the first screen to appear when the user launches the app. So, very first screen you see in app is the main activity. Each activity can then start another activity in order to perform different actions. So, initially there is a main activity which in turn can start another activity. Now, let us take example to clear this. For example, the main activity in a email app may provide the screen that shows an email inbox. So, when you open email app, first you see is the inbox. So, that can be considered as a main activity. From there, the main activity might launch other activities that provide screen for tasks like writing email and opening individual email. So, if you compose new email, then it is another activity which can be started from main activity. Although activity works together to form cohesive user experience in an app, each activity is only loosely bound to other activities. There are usually minimal dependency among the activities in an app. In fact, activities often start up activities belonging to other apps. For example, a browser app might launch the share activity of a social media app. To use activities in your app, you must register information about them in app's manifest and you must manage activity lifecycle appropriately. We have discussed activity element. So, you must define these activity element for every activity in manifest file. Now, let us understand activity lifecycle. During the life of activity, it goes through many states. Over the course of its lifetime, when activity goes through number of states, you use series of callback to handle transition between states. Now, let us try to understand these different types of states in activity life. The first callback is on create. So, you must implement this callback which fires when the system creates your activity. Your implementation should initialize the essential component of your activity. So, the very first is on create, when activity is created. The next is on start. As on create exits, the activity enters the started state. Initially it was create, now it enters started state and the activity becomes visible to the user. This callback contains what amount to the activity final preparation for coming to foreground and becoming interactive. So, after on create, it enters on start. Then there is a on resume callback. The system invokes this callback just before the activity starts interacting with the user. At this point, the activity is at the top of activity stack and captures all user input. Most of core functionality is implemented in the on resume method. So, on create, on start and on resume. The next callback is on pause. The system calls on pause when the activity loses focus and enters paused state. This state occurs when, for example, the user taps the back or recent button. So, when you press back, that activity is paused and then there is a on stop callback. The system calls on stop when the activity is no longer visible to the user. These may happen because the activity is destroyed, a new activity is starting, or an existing activity is entering a resume state and is covering the stopped activity. So, at that time that callback is called. Then there is on restart. The system invokes the callback when an activity in the stop state is about to restart. On restart restores the state of activity from the time that it was stopped, and this callback is always followed by on start. Why? Because when it restarts, first it gets its previous state and then again starts. So, it is always followed by on start, and last is on destroy. The system invokes the callback before an activity is destroyed. This callback is the final one that the activity receives. On destroy is usually implements to ensure that all of an activity's resource are released when the activity or the process containing it destroyed. You should release all the resources that is used by your activity in this callback. Now, let us try to understand this entire activity life cycle through flow diagram. On screen you can see that when any activity is launched, first it calls on create, then it is followed by on start, and then it enters on resume. So, after on resume we can say activity is running. Now, suppose another activity comes into the foreground, then currently running app is paused. So, on paused is called and user returns to the activity, then again on resume is called and again activity start running. But if app with higher priority needs memory, the app process may be killed and user navigates to that activity and its on create again start. Now, suppose after on paused the activity is no longer visible, it may enter on stop, and after on stop the activity is finishing or being destroyed by the system, then it enters on destroy, and finally activity shut down. So, this is all about activity life cycle. Now, we discuss fragment. Fragment is also very important component of our app. So, let us discuss what is fragment is. A fragment represents reusable portion of your app's user interface. A fragment defines and manage its own layout, has its own life cycle and can handle its own input events. It is very similar to activity, but there is a difference between fragment and activity that we need to understand. Fragment cannot live on their own. They must be hosted by an activity or another fragment. So, it depends either on other fragment or activity. The fragments view hierarchy becomes part of or attaches to the host's view hierarchy. Fragments introduce modularity and reusability into your activity user interface by allowing you to divide the user interface into discrete chunks. So, every chunks may represent fragment. Activities are an ideal place to put global elements around your app's user interface, such as navigation drawer. Conversely, fragments are better suited to define and manage the user interface of a single screen or portion of a screen. Now, let us take example of fragment when fragment is required. So, dividing your user interface into fragments make it easier to modify your activity's appearance at runtime while your activity is in the started life cycle state or higher. Fragments can be added, replaced or removed. You can keep a record of these changes in a backstack that is managed by the activity, allowing the changes to be reversed. Consider an app that responds to various screen sizes. On larger screen, the app should display static navigation drawer and list in a grid layout. On a smaller screen, the app should display bottom navigation bar and list in a linear layout. Managing all these variations in activity can be clumsy. Separating the navigation element from the content can make this process more manageable. The activity is then responsible for displaying the correct navigation user interface, while the fragment displays the list with the proper layout. Let us take an example. So, here you can see that on large screen, activity implements navigation user interface and fragment implements display. On small screen, app manages navigation bar at the bottom and fragment manages display. In this scenario, fragments are very useful where activity need to adjust its UI based on the screen size. So, at that time we will use fragment. Similar to activity, fragment has its own life cycle. So, on screen you will see fragment life cycle with its view life cycle and corresponding callback. So, here you can see that different callbacks that is called in order and view life cycle as well as fragment life cycle. Figure on the screen shows each of the fragments life cycle state and how they relate to both the fragment life cycle callback and the fragment's view life cycle. As the fragment progresses through its life cycle, it moves upward and downward through its state that you can see on the screen. For example, a fragment that is added to the top of the backstack moves upward from created to started to resumed. Conversely, when fragment is pop off the backstack, it moves downward through those states going from resume to started to created and finally destroyed. It is very similar to activity life cycle. You can easily understand these fragment life cycle. What are the different methods of fragment? The first is on attach, the very first method to be called when the fragment has been associated with the activity. This method executes only once during the lifetime of a fragment. Similarly, you can see on create view, on activity created, on start, on resume, on pause, on stop, on destroy view, on destroy and on detach. And when these methods of fragments are called, these are the different methods that you need to understand to use fragment. Let us understand the difference between activity and fragment. We want to list the difference between activity and fragment. So, first is activity is an application component that gives a user interface where the user can interact. The fragment is only part of an activity. It basically contributes its UI to that activity. The next difference is activity is not dependent on fragment, while fragment is dependent on activity. It can't exist independently. So, remember fragment is the part of activity UI or it contributes to activity UI. We need to mention all activity it in the manifest.xml file. Fragment is not required to mention in the manifest file. The fourth difference is we can't create multi-screen UI without using fragment in an activity. Now, after using multiple fragments in a single activity, we can create a multi-screen UI. Activity can exist without fragment, but fragment cannot be used without an activity. Creating project using only activity, then it is difficult to manage. While using fragment in the project structure will be good and we can handle it easily. So, you must use fragment. Life cycle methods are hosted by operating system. The activity has its own life cycle. Life cycle methods in fragments are hosted by hosting the activity because it is part of activity. Activity is not lightweight because it requires resources like memory and processor, but fragment is sometimes called lightweight because it uses resources of its hosting activity. These are the difference between activity and fragment. Now, let us sum up. In this module, we have learned Android manifest file and its elements in detail. We have discussed activity and life cycle of an activity. We have understood fragment and life cycle of fragment, methods of fragment, and we have understand the difference between activity and fragment. On screen you can see the references that you can use to understand in detail about activity and fragment. Thank you and happy learning.
स्वाध्यायः